Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. It's Susan, and I'm back with 12 to 60 comics where I share with you my journey of collecting comics and selling them. I have to say, this is my fourth episode, and it's really fun making a podcast. I'm really enjoying it. I really love seeing that people are viewing it and enjoying it. All the subscribers, that's really cool. The people who I particularly like it when people leave comments because I don't know, it just continues the conversation, and there's pretty much clearly nothing I love more than talking and sharing. So tell me in the comments, tell me your comic book journey. That's what I really want to hear. I want to hear about the things that are important to you, questions that you have. One of the questions that has come up, and this was when I told my family I was selling my collection, and immediately they were asking me all kinds of things, but one of the things was, am I selling everything? And the answer to that is definitely not. There are some comic books that have personal meaning to me, and I'm going to share those with you. I'm going to share a particular series with you today that I don't think I'll ever sell. I don't think I'll ever, maybe I'll give away someday to somebody, but no, they just mean too much to me. And there's other comics that have hit my life at certain points and certain moments, or maybe are connected with particular people. And I just don't, at this point, feel like I need to let go of them. Okay, now I'm going to share with you the story of the books I will never, ever, ever let go of. And to tell that story, I have to tell you the story of my friend Miriam. Now, there was a period of time in my life when I had started practicing law, got very involved in my career, that I basically kind of stepped out of collecting comic books. This was sort of the early to mid 90s. And I had a moment when I got my old comics from my parents, realized I needed to take better care of them. I had a weekend off, and so dressed up in my suit and my briefcase, I found a local comic shop. I called a local comic shop down in San Leandro and talked to someone on the phone, said, hey, I need bags and boards and boxes. They said, come on down. I thought it was a guy I was talking to. I walk in the door of the comic shop in San Leandro, and there is this woman standing there. And it's like she's psychic. Like she's like, hey, I just talked to you on the phone. And I'm like, okay, I was expecting somebody else. But she just had this infectious smile, this big grin, these kind of twinkly eyes, this slightly older than me Peruvian woman, very cool. And that day began 20 something years of friendship. And you looked around in the store and there was Xena stuff everywhere. There was Star Trek stuff everywhere. I mean, Miriam was a true nerdy, geeky fan. It was just an amazing comic books everywhere, trade paperbacks everywhere, action figures everywhere, the little statues and things like that. And I went in, I was being all like, I got to get in, I got to get out, time is precious. Can I get some bags? Can I get some boards? And she's just charming me, and she's talking to me, and I'm explaining how, yeah, I'm not really, collecting comics anymore. I just need to take care of the ones I have. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. And she starts getting stuff together, and she's like, so, how long has it been? And I'm like, oh, it's been about, I don't know, at that point, 6 or 7 years since I'd really spent any time with comics at all. And she goes, oh, yeah. And I kind of asked her a little bit about Xena, and then, conversation started to develop. And she goes, I know you're not buying new comics, but there is one comic I really think you should take a look at. And I'm like, okay. And she said, Strangers in Paradise. And that's the story of Francine and Kachu that pulled me back so hard and so fast into comic books. And she had a bunch of back issues. She handed me a stack of them. I took them home, started to read them, immediately called her the next day and said, hey, do you have any more? And she got me some trade paperbacks. I ended up collecting the previous books from the Homage series. I mean, I just dove in. And the thing that was amazing about Strangers in Paradise is just how realistic and funny and compassionate it's about two women, right? And they're just like normal, and yet they're having these adventures, and there's kind of whole espionage thing involved. And it's about, sort of the tension of longing and desire and friendship and connection. And it was funny. God, it was so funny, and it was so moving at the same time. And I thought, this Terry Moore, man, she's a great writer. And I'm talking to Miriam about it, and Miriam's like, Terry Moore is a dude. And I'm like, no way is Terry Moore a dude. No way a man writes women this well. That's all I'm saying. And it turns out I am completely wrong. Terry Moore is in fact a man, and does in fact write amazing stories about amazing women. And I have collected every single issue that Terry Moore, in terms of Terry Moore's own work, that Terry Moore has ever done. And so there's Strangers in Paradise, the story of Kachu and Francine, which is sort of the heart of his work. I think it started, gosh, in like 1999, and went on for quite a while until that series came to an amazing, wonderful end. And then after that, he did a series called Echo, which is a little bit more of a sci-fi kind of a thing. And then after that was Rachel Rising, which had kind of a gothic horror supernatural component. And then after that, gosh, what came after that? Oh, Motor Girl. Oh my God. Motor Girl. Let me just, okay, this is, I meant to be doing this in a more coherent way. This is Rachel Rising. This gives you a sense of like the themes there. Very dark, very supernatural, very creepy. Motor Girl. You look at the cover of Motor Girl and you think, oh, that's going to be kind of a funny book. It's about a mechanic and her gorilla. This book made me cry so damn hard, it's not even funny. And laugh like 2 seconds later, and then cry some more. Extraordinary storytelling, just terrific. And so basically what Terry does is he's created, Motor Girl, Rachel Rising, Ever, Zoe in the book Serial. Then he kind of circles back with 25 years when Strangers in Paradise. And then he pulls all these characters together in sort of like a big ongoing storyline that's really engaging and moving. And you see how his characters actually age and develop. And I mean, great stories, great fun, tales, exciting. And at the same time, all you're doing is like rooting for these relationships. And it just, I can't even begin to tell you how awesome they are. He even does really cute little things. He does these like little one-offs of them all as kids, which totally reminds me of, remember when they used to do like Archie and Jughead as little kids? I always loved that. So we have, Strangers in Paradise, 5 years, so excellent. Here's a one-shot he did called Ever, so excellent. I have the rest, but they're in different boxes, and it's all too much for me to even figure out. But anyway, they're great. And the coolest thing about Terry Moore is that all of this is self-published. He and his wife, Robin, created Abstract Studios, and they do all this themselves. You can get all of these books as trade paperbacks. He has omnibus editions. He does Kickstarters and things like that. But I think for a while he did, the very beginning of Strangers in Paradise was Homage, which was his imprint on Image, but very quickly moved to his own studio. And I cannot even recommend this enough. If you never read a comic book, this is in fact how I convinced my wife that comic books are cool. I said, look, I get that a lot of people don't understand comic books. And I handed her, this is when we first started going out, and I handed her the stack of Strangers in Paradise. And I said, just read this for a little bit and tell me if that doesn't change your mind. And it did. So for that, Miriam, I thank you again.